So we actually took the carboy, the fermentation vessel, and put it in that rail cart and pushed it back into the Hecla mine. It's a mine that's right behind the old ski patrol house.
Our first time thinking like, holy shit, we should do it. I remember having conversations in our backyard with beers and being like, gosh, like we just want it to feel like this.
Breweries should be treated like laboratories.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be spotless and completely sanitary. And winning Hellas last year was really nice. And we went back-to-back gold medals with our hazy beer in the World Beer Cup. And Salt Lake's a great town. It's a big, clean city, super progressive. It's relevantly safe. I wouldn't move if I could. I mean, I might have a beach house, maybe a house in Italy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't move this to be home base. If I had all the money in the world, I'd still live here.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and it's no secret that Utah has some wonky alcohol laws, but for some reason, we still have a lot of amazing breweries and beer that's made here. Now, our story today starts at brewing beer in a mine shaft up at Alta, all the way towards creating one of the greatest spaces in Salt Lake to grab a beer with friends that almost feels like you're not even in Salt Lake. And if you haven't guessed by now, the place that I'm talking about is TF Brewing. Now, not only do they brew beers, do they have a great space, but they've also won a lot of international awards for the beers that they've created. And Kevin and Britt Templin are two people that are so invested in creating the best beer and the best experience for all of their customers. So today we hear about their story of moving here, being ski bums, finding each other at Alta, all the way towards creating one of my favorite places to grab a beer with friends and catch up. So definitely going to be a great episode for you all. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation, and yeah, enjoy.
Like we're having beers in our backyard with our family and friends, and I think we've done that on a bigger scale for sure.
This is just a big house.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps getting big, like, because I remember the first time I came, like, it was in winter, and so, like, obviously, like, the back wasn't open.
Right.
And that's been expanded, and then now, I mean, because this is, like, the barrel, like, the room that we're in is also open a lot of the time as well, so it's got to be nice to be like, we're going to need more space.
Right. And the barrel room came about, we had this space, but when COVID hit, we just wanted to provide extra space for people to space out because we had to. And so this was kind of our indoor patio at the time because people really like to sit outside. So, this kind of just grew into this space, which it's worked out really nicely. But yeah, I think we're pretty maxed out at this point, but unless we take Fernando's space.
Command and conquer. Be like, hey, listen, we want your space. Here's an offer.
We want the whole block.
Right, the whole block. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a good problem. If you don't have enough space and you have more customers, you're going to find a way to make more space for more customers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
it's a lot better than having too much space and trying to find customers to come through.
Yeah. We're very lucky.
And it's like, and again, going back to like the community aspect and bringing people here, like a lot of people don't understand. I mean, it's like exactly what you're saying, Britt. It's like part of the thing that makes beer so great is being able to sit and enjoy it with someone and sit in the back
for sure.
Your backyard around a fire pit and just, sit and bullshit and laugh and have a good time.
Yep.
And like, there's so much cultural change going on in Utah, both, people coming in and then like, people falling out of love with religion.
Right.
And it's fun to be like, oh, let's go grab a beer and do this. Like, oh, I don't really like beer. Like, I don't know if I want to go to a brewery. It's like, just hear me out. And then, and the next thing I know, they're like, wait, that was really fun. Can we do that again? It's like, yeah. And like my cousin who I was telling you about, Kevin, but I have a cousin who lives in Willamette Valley down in Oregon where they grow, great Pinot, great chard. And he was the one who really taught me about like what I term as like an adult night out, meaning, okay, let's go get reservations at a restaurant, go find a place, get maybe an appetizer, get some drinks, a cocktail, go to dinner, maybe go grab another drink somewhere else. If we're really feeling it, we can go get dessert. But it's like great because like you start off, you're like, oh, this is fun, whatever. And then as like,
settling in.
Exactly. and so it's fun to, I usually make this one of the spots on that whenever I have a night out with you. Oh, thank you.
I love that.
Because again, like I said, for me and my sister, we love, like, usually we'll always do a Sunday night, at least 2 or 3 times a month of like, I'll go to her house with a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of beer. We'll just sit and, vent and talk, open up, whatever. But this is always like, if we're like, hey, my house is a mess, or like, I don't want to host you, like she's like, I'll meet you at TF. And so
Love it.
there's like so many great memories here. And actually one of my favorite pictures of myself, which sounds really selfish to say, but is in the back in the summer. And I mean, obviously I have a fern in my hand and my like legs are crossed.
This
I'm just
is
like
it.
laughing back. And I'm like, see, that is what,
Love that.
what we try to provide.
Yeah, 100%. Those are the best. And I mean, I've had probably 5 couples tell me that they met here and they're getting married, or like, it's just, I mean, I love those stories. So
We have weddings in here quite a bit.
like receptions and things like that. So we've had a couple weddings, which is wild.
You're like, you want to get married where? Like, okay, like, sure.
This is a really nice room, though. If you look
Spruce
at,
it up.
yeah, if you look at trying to rent a party hall or like a private event room,
It's
This
really beautiful.
seems
and
like the
unique.
right
Well, you've
place.
been here.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, again, I hate to use the word vibe so much, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and it's fun too, because like there's so much energy that goes into all of these barrels and
For
all of
sure.
these beers.
Mhm.
And I mean,
People
not-
love it.
Exactly.
They love to be in it.
Exactly.
So.
And it's like people who are also passionate about the beer and consuming. It's like, yeah, like it's a good place to be.
Yeah, we think so.
I agree.
So I love kind of like the evolution of the beers that you've seen at TF. I mean, because again, like it was all started with lagers, kind of where that passion lies, and then people find out. I mean, there's this whole evolution of IPAs and everything that's gone on in the past 5-6 years. But I mean, from your perspective of again, like having full control, how has your perspective changed, or the beers that you've liked change, or like even just your, I mean, like let's call it research and development and experimentation. I mean, where has that led you in kind of alleys?
We do R&D all the time. It seems like every time we make one-off specialty beers, really what they are in the background is they're just R&D beers for future core beers.
Mhm.
And I mean, we have
I mean, and sometimes it's like us scrolling on Instagram and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so good. Or like, let's try it. You know, sometimes
Yeah, why not?
you
beers
get
come from
inspired
that.
everywhere you go. And when we travel quite a bit, and you try different things and you see different things, and you're like, oh, that'd be neat. We should try one of those.
Mhm.
Or, oh, I like this. How they did this bathroom in this place. This is
Mhm.
interesting. Look at this. Look at this light fixture. We like those. I mean, we should try those at the place. You know. So yeah, been to a million breweries, and you learn a lot every time you walk into some place. You always take something away,
Cool.
good or bad. Hopefully good, but
Right.
Where are some of your favorite places you guys have been that, I mean, whether it's a brewery and a beer or a place, you're like, oh, well, beer, like I've never had beer like this in this specific place of the world.
Well, you would say Germany.
yeah,
The birthplace of it all.
probably Bamberg or
Mhm.
or Munich. Yeah, Bamberg is where we get a lot of our grains from, and we've been there several times, and it's just a beautiful old little castle town in Franconia, north of Munich, and they have wonderful beers there. It's famous for all their smoke beers that they have there, and the Wireman malting facility is located in Bamberg, and so we visit with those guys and have dinner and brew beers together. And
He's on the call list, the circle of trust.
yep, 100%. Yeah, the
Cool.
Wiremans are they're a good big part of the family. Yeah,
What about you, Brett? What have been some of your favorite places that you've had a beer or been inspired by?
Well, Bamberg,
Like same.
he drags me there.
Oh no.
You know what? I mean, I love when we were in Mexico, we had not just beers, but just killer cocktails. And we were kind of really inspired by that. And
Yeah.
again, like killer service, like great cocktails. The beers are always good. I mean, I would say,
our cocktail menu is insane.
yeah,
Our liquor offerings and wine offerings here are
it's getting better too.
they're really
We're trying.
tight. Yeah.
Because like there's one type of person, I won't say I hate this type of person, but they're definitely a buzzkill. Is when again it's like, hey, let's go to like TF, we got a big group, let's go grab a seat at the table. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like beer. I
Yeah.
don't want to just like,
hmm
all right. Like
Yeah.
usually means you haven't had enough beer or you haven't had the right beer.
Right.
But it's also my dad's perspective on sushi, and he would try to force me to have sushi at Happy Sumo at Gateway
Yeah.
all the time, and that never worked.
Right.
But that's a whole nother side topic. But yes, I mean, it's good to have that like diverse offering. And I know that there's another grape based development coming up that we'll touch on in a minute. But I also love that you guys have been very Salt Lake Central. And like, so like one of my favorite businesses in Salt Lake has been, I mean, Feist. Like I've been going there since I was like a sophomore in high school, wanting to be
Yep.
the cool kid with the cool clothes.
Right.
And now still somehow
Now you
want to be
are.
the
Look
cool.
at you.
No, thank you. It's a journey, not a destination. I like to think that I'd make my like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old self like me, you know?
We've done several collaboration beers with Feist. Both of my kids worked there too.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that part of things. Because, yeah, I mean, like Corey, I mean, it's funny to find actually, Corey's the only person who's looked me in the eyes and been like, no, I will not be on your podcast.
Really?
And
Okay.
I was like, oh, I get it, but like
Yeah.
anything else, you're like, if I say yes, you have to say yes to everyone. I'm like, well, you don't. But again, another side topic.
He's a great guy.
Good
guy.
Exactly. And like you
Yes.
follow him and he's such an interesting dude from like his passion for art, his passion for space,
Yes.
which I know that's where it reminded me the I think is it the same beer that you did this year that you've done in the past, or is it a different one?
We kind of switch him up.
Yeah, we
Same
switch 'em
kind
up
of
a little bit.
space, same, and we leave that up to him. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely the creative guy that can come up with a beer and a name and a branding pretty quick.
Yeah. Yep. And then, he always does a hoodie or it's fun. They're fun. They're easy and he makes it really easy and they're really fun. So
You're like, thank you for employing my children.
yep.
Thank you for having a cool place and being a great partner.
Thank you for getting me sneakers.
Everybody
All the
wins.
things.
All boats rise with high tide.
Yes.
So I mean, do your kids also help around here as much as well, or?
Yep.
My son doesn't work there anymore. My daughter, I think she's done pretty much too, but they've worked there for the last couple of years. And my son works porter. He works full time in the brew house, so he produces beer 5 days a week.
So father like son.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we like it. My niece works here. My nephew works here. My brother just walked in. My son works here. My wife works here.
I mean,
So
Anybody, the dog, grandpa.
dogs have been here. Yeah.
dogs have been here.
But awards. I mean, you guys have won so many countless awards, and I'm not the person who would understand it the best, but I mean, walk through something like your most, proud awards and like contextualize it. Because again, it's like, it's one thing to be like, oh, it's Utah's best beer, which someone could say that about anything, but I know that there's been so many great things you guys have been able to accomplish. Especially going again from brewing beer in a mining shaft at Alta to where you are. What does that mean for you guys and what's next?
I think producing medal and award-winning beers is something that you have to brew the beer several times, over and over and over, and you trim it and try to get closer to where you're going to get to. And with competitions, it's basically you just put your best foot forward. Fresh grain, fresh hops, clean tanks, clean floors, good attitude, hit all your numbers as far as the brewing process goes, which I don't know how deep you want to get into that, but and then you put it out there, and when it leaves and it goes to the competition, if you can just look at each other and say, well, we did everything we can and we wouldn't change anything about that. So you win, and that's always fun. And if you don't, you still put your best foot forward. Yeah.
And were some of these like awards and competitions you entered things that, was it always a goal for you to be a part of, or was it mostly just?
Yeah, I like competition, and I'm a competitive person, so I like competitions. I think it's fun. And I think if you want to prove yourself up against the best in the world, you got to put your beers out there and see what the judges say, because the judges all know it's your beer. It's just a cup with a number on it. They have no clue whose beer it is.
Yeah.
But it was really good. Winning Hellas last year was really nice. We went back-to-back gold medals with our hazy beer in the World Beer Cup, and
So not only best in the state, but
it's an international competition. Yeah.
So that's what's huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
it's huge. And every year you go and hopefully you pick something up, and if you don't, you're bummed, and you go home and try to figure out what went wrong, and that kind of drives you to keep trying to make better and better and higher quality beer, because it goes down to a lot more than what the consumers think. The consumers are just like, oh, it's hoppy IPA, yay, but it might be oxidized, it might have DMS in it might be turbid, it may be too bitter, not bitter enough, wrong color, wrong alcohol, not enough foam, too much foam. There's a million different parameters that you have to try to wiggle those beers into if you're going to hit in a competition.
And I know that's something that you've always been really good at. And again, we talked about when we were setting up is
Yeah.
that you love, being on the other side of the competition side of things, of being a judge and tasting a lot of these beers.
I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me.
How did you get into that originally?
I've been to the Siebel Sensory Evaluation course 7 times. I went to a little bit of schooling in Germany and did some stuff in Denver and Chicago, and you just start, as you get picked up on a judging panel, especially like the bigger ones like the World Beer Cup or the GABF, when those beers come out and you get towards the medal rounds, you really start. I have like a notebook I bring with me all the time, and I always write down, say, okay, this is what they're looking for, and this is the color, the one that took fourth and fifth, where it's just a little bit like this instead of like that. And so I note all that stuff, and I think that helps when you get back into the lab and you can say, oh, we're going to enter our whatever, our Pilsner. And you say, well, I did the medal round at the GABF and the World Beer Cup last year, and this is really what they're looking for. And ours is a little too flabby, and maybe it's not carbonated enough, or maybe it's too bitter, and the clarity or the color is a little wrong, or it's oxidized or something like that. And I think that's helped. As far as entering competitions and winning competitions, being a professional beer judge has helped me immensely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, I mean, the closest thing you can compare it to is like, a sommelier.
Yep.
And I mean, to be able to have, I mean, it's so interesting to hear how passionate you are about it. Because like anyone can do a job, quote unquote, but there becomes this like level of like, quote, professionalism of when it's like, no, this is my craft. I want to own this. I want to learn more. I want to do this. And especially the point of like, oh, I'm going to travel to Germany and learn. I'm going to travel to Denver and learn. I'm going to want to join all of these competitions and judge them because I do want to taste beer and see what everyone's best foot forward. What does that look like? Which I'm sure is only echoed in a lot of the beers that you've brewed here and been able to do that. I mean, has that played a big impact in kind of your role as the brewmaster and being able to put forward your best foot forward for your own beers?
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you order a American pale ale, it should look and taste and smell like an American pale ale. I know there are places out there that say, well, this is our stout. This is our porter. When you look at it, you're like, it doesn't look like a porter and doesn't smell like a porter. It doesn't taste like a porter. And they say, well, that's our porter. And I say, okay, that's fine. I'm just a little too regimented about that. My OCD will not let me just rest on our laurels and be like, oh yeah, it's good enough. We'll just make this. This is our recipe, and we're just going to squirt this beer out for the next 10 years and just keep it just how it is because people like it. Because beer can always be better. I mean, every single batch, you're always trying to trim it and make it better. And we brew probably 6 to 8 batches a week. And there's not a single day that you don't trim just these micro little spots on it to make it better all the way around.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys are fans of The Bear on Hulu.
I am. It's
That guy drives me
stressful for him. So.
He's like, this is too much like
yelling at each other, yelling and yelling. I'm like, this is no way to run it. I know you're busy, but it's
no one needs to be screaming at each other all the
yes,
time.
chef, yes, chef. I'm like,
I like it.
I don't go around people going, yes, brewmaster, yes, brewmaster. It's so I don't. Ugh.
It's their thing.
That's just their thing.
But it's like in the same vein of like, oh, we need to control everything we control. We do need to have a clean brewery. We do need to make sure that we're, measurement, best ingredients, best qualities, best foot forward, continually iterating, continually refining at all costs. And so fun to see people have that same sort of like. Yeah,
you can't make clean beer in a dirty brewery. I don't care what anyone says. We've seen it. Yes, you can make decent beer, and yes, you can make good beer, but breweries should be treated like laboratories.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be spotless and completely sanitary, and nothing's out of place. Everything's got a home. I mean, the hammer doesn't live on top of the toolbox. It lives in the third drawer down. I mean, there's stuff like that. Like trash cans just don't go wherever. They go exactly where the trash cans go. The hoses get hung up a certain way. We scrub the floor every single day of the week. I mean, because when you come in to make beer, you don't want to have to like struggle around thinking, oh, it's dusty here, it's dirty there. Where's this? It should be here. Where's that? It's not in its home. So it's a real flow to the brewery when everything's in its spot and where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Got to run a tight ship.
Or else yeah. You ask the guys, I can be a real ball buster. But there's nobody that's worked for me and left that hasn't been like right on and gone on to make a really good career and made better beer at wherever they land. I mean, we have Rita's a great example. She worked here. She was a bartender, learned how to make beer, went and got her master's in brewing and distilling science in Edinburgh. And now she's heading up a couple breweries over there. And she says it all the time. She's like, it's messy. It's dirty. I can't stand it. Like, this is no. So the top hitters in the world know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's cleanliness is everything. It's everything.
You got to control all the variables that you can.
Oh, yeah.
And everything as clean as possible.
Yep.
I remember a question I was going to ask. So, obviously, a lot of family that you've mentioned that's been a part of of TF in general. Did they move here specifically for that, or were they already in Salt Lake in the meantime?
Already in Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
No one's moved here to work here. I'm like,
No, my brother lived here first, and then I moved out, and then my sister moved out, and my mom and dad probably 20 years ago said, "Oh, everybody's there. We'll just come out too." Salt Lake's a great town. It's a big, clean city, super progressive. It's relevantly safe. It doesn't look like Denver or Portland and nothing against those cities. Those are wonderful places to visit, but it just hasn't withered like those bigger cities have.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Like even when that same cousin I was telling you about was in town last weekend, and I made sure he had a Ferda and he loved it. We were walking around downtown. I mean, and he was like, "This feels weird." Like, because we were walking around Main Street, 'cause we went to White Horse and got some food and some drink. And while we were waiting for our table, we went to London Bell. I went to Edison as well. And he's like, "This is what Portland used to be like
yeah,
before everything changed, of like this vibrancy." And this, I'm like, yeah, like, and this is like,
Yeah.
it's like this intersectionality of change where those cities are starting to not do as great.
right.
I mean, in Salt Lake, because again, like even something as simple as like the cleanliness of Salt Lake, like
For sure.
people don't understand how clean Salt Lake is until you like living in Seattle is like the amount of times I saw human feces
Right.
on the sidewalk. Sometimes it being created and put on the sidewalk was very eye opening.
Yeah,
And so to have a city that's here, I mean, the amount of people that love going out and making it their home. I mean, skiing. I mean, you can make the list go on and on and on. And I always love the people where it's like, oh yeah, like we came out, brother came out, other brother came out, parents finally realized
Yeah,
that
we
that's the
stayed.
place to be.
yeah. I mean, and it's obvious. It's obvious people are coming here in droves. I feel like I feel like I hear from front of house staff when we're checking IDs, like people will be like, "Gosh, there were a lot of people from California tonight," or mostly people from out of state, and a lot of times that happens during ski season. But I just feel like there's more and more people migrating to Utah.
Not a bad place to be.
No,
It's hard to hate.
not. It's really is.
I wouldn't move if I could. I mean, I might have a beach house, or maybe a house in Italy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't move this to be home base. If I had all the money in the world, I'd still live here.
No, and it's like in that same point, it's like, oh, then we have like a Delta hub that's right in the middle of the country.
Right.
Or if you do
So
want to get to
easy.
the beach house,
Yeah.
or you get to Italy, it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. It's almost a good thing, the whole religious suppression of the riffraff. It kind of keeps it clean. You know what I mean? And you got to give them props for that.
Yeah, credit where credit's due for sure.
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like I mean, like similarly, like Matteo Saunier, who I mean opened up Matteo, there's an episode on it if you want the whole history, but I mean, a swimmer from Italy comes to the U after not making the Olympic team because of an injury,
Oh, I
goes to
didn't
school.
know
Oh,
about him. I'll have to look.
it's actually that's one of my favorite episodes I've
Fun
done.
fact.
What do you do? Was he a swimmer, runner?
Swimmer,
Oh.
yeah, he was a long distance
Interesting.
freestyle swimmer. Like
Now.
he still has the record to go across and back Bear Lake.
Wow.
So
Oh my God.
yeah, so like not only does he, I mean, make a killer restaurant with an even better wine list. Like,
Yep.
and again, I took my cousin there. He's like, actually, like that was a really good restaurant. Do you
Yeah.
guys have these now? I'm like,
Yeah,
I
he's
know.
a good friend.
Yeah.
Where-
you walk in and he comes right up
Oh,
to the
good.
door and greets
Yeah.
us in the whole
Nice.
9 yards. Yeah.
and that's like the part of it too is like when he decides like, hey, I'm gonna start my own restaurant. He's like, hey, family, you want to come move out and help? So his mom's still in the kitchen every morning creating their focaccia.
Yeah.
Like the first time I went, I was talking to the waiter, just like kind of like blown away. I was like, oh, like it's like a real place. And I was like, well, who knows? Like, oh, it's Mateo's over there. He came over and said hi. He's like, oh, well, his family. Well, I'm like, oh, well, where are they? He's like, they're right there at the table next to you.
That's my brother.
Come say hi.
What do you mean you
I don't
don't want
wanna
you don't want to say hi?
We're talking about how great of a family affair TF has become.
Here we go.
Exactly. So naturally. Right. With his lager shirt on,
I know.
Yeah. He's
He's-
having a cup of orange juice.
of course. Looks like a cup of orange juice. Some real nice and hazy. Well, so thinking about, I mean, okay, where you are and where you want to go. I mean, what are the next kind of steps for you guys? I mean, is there any like more awards you want to win, or kind of solidify more of those? Any more products or different beers that you want to experiment with, or what
I
is?
want to win awards at everything we enter for the rest of my life.
There you go.
Yeah, because it feels good, and then 3 days later, you get back in the brew house and start grinding on the next thing. But it's always good to, high fives and pats on the back, and we go get a whiskey, and everybody's happy, and you get that little adrenaline rush, and then you get back to work.
Yeah, just like Santa when he gets back from Christmas, it's
Yeah.
working for next year already.
A couple days off, and he's back to making toys.
I mean, are there any other beers that you, are working on or want to work on that you've never done before, or is it mostly just kind of back to that? I mean, refining.
It's more refining. I mean, I don't want to say we've made every beer style because there's some styles I don't really care to make, but you can never refine very traditional German lager beers. I mean, it just takes centuries. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes.
I mean, we
forever.
are building our wine program.
Our wine program's taking off.
Perfect segue. So talk to me about that and expanding into wine. I mean, a very different world, very different. I mean, obviously creation process, etc. But I mean, what sparked that, and where are we at in that process?
I like wine. I like natural wines. I like wine, right? But I don't know a lot about wine, but I just know that I like it.
There's a great way to learn, and it's to start creating and
Right.
and serving your own.
So we took a trip out to Healdsburg, and Evan Lewandowski took us on a little tour of his winery and Healdsburg and all the vineyards out there. And gosh, it was like one of the best, coolest places I've ever been, really, and really enjoyed our time out there. And he was a gracious host, and we stomped some grapes, and I just loved the organic nature of the process, and just to learn like how many grapes and varieties and how they're all different. I mean, just so much. There's kind of a lot like hops,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there are similarities in a weird way, but yeah, I just think it's a cool process, just natural and organic.
It's fermentation. Fermentation's fermentation.
Yeah.
So you're taking wild yeast or laboratory yeast and converting sugars into a consumable product.
Yeah. Give Kevin another thing to chew on and master. And
Wine fermentation's interesting. I mean, natural wine fermentation's crazy because we don't even pitch yeast into that. So we just rely on, the natural terroir of wherever we get our fruit from to do the fermentation. Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because I think beer and wine are kind of in the same vein in this, but again, it's been like centuries, if not millennia, that people have been, students and so attached to this process, and to be able to join in, hit your horse would be like, all right, well, I want to try my best. I want to try my best at this process, and then voluntarily pick another one to go dive into.
And it's cool because the craft beer world is changing a bit. I think people are really loving lagers and just those easy drinking beers. It's not so much the hazies and the pastry stouts and the smoothie beers. It's like wines and
gets me into trouble quick.
Yeah,
because I can go to a brewery and if I drink a Furta, I'm good. 2 Furtas, we're okay. 3 Furtas,
I need some
request Uber.
Yeah,
no matter where my car is.
Yeah, I can't do 3 photos.
Oh my God. Yes.
I could do 5 Keller beers, but I can't do 3 photos.
And that's exactly it. And so in the same way, I usually have in my fridge, I'll have usually Furta, or unless I'm sick of it, which happens rarely, then I'll try something else.
Yeah.
But then I'll also have something, a lager, a pilsner, some sort of lighter beer. Because again, sometimes you just want to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 beers in the backyard or the porch or the patio with friends.
For sure.
I prefer low ABV beers. I like low ABV beers, 4 to 5%. That's a perfect pocket for me.
And I think and again, you kind of alluded to this, Britt, I think that's kind of where people are going because I have friends, it's we'll go to the liquor store, oh, look, this is a 13% beer. I'm like, what are you, I don't want to.
And they're fun sometimes, right?
We make those.
We have a 12% beer, 11 something that we
proudly
put out today. So people really love those beers too, but take it home, enjoy it at home and have at it.
Yeah.
So, drink 1 or 2 here, but take the rest home.
Totally.
Yeah.
So where are we at in the wine process? Are you guys still exploring it? Do we have a deadline of when we can expect to be able to, grab a glass of wine that you guys have been making here?
It's on draft right now.
Well, I know where I'm going right
It's
after
on
this.
draft right now. Yeah.
We have more in fermentation right now than we have our fruit that we're getting delivered from Palisade
Cool.
In the fall. So.
Yep. And then we'll put some in bottles. So yeah, it's, and I feel like that is a vast world for us to really dive into and grow. And I don't know if he wants to go that way, but it's cool. Something different.
Yeah, something new, something different, something for him to chew on.
Mm-hmm. And then cocktails too. I think we have a decent spirit list and some fun cocktails and trying to grow that as well. So,
and that's the thing I love about cocktails. It's I've started to appreciate more and more is when you're dealing with such strong flavor profiles,
Yeah.
you like the sky is the limit because there's so many different ingredients. There's so many fun, unique ways to go. I mean, and beholden to your own creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys gone on developing your own cocktail list? Has it mostly just been kind of you two trying, tasting, and going through the same process, or?
We have a great, he's one of our managers, Jack.
Okay.
Jack has kind of really built our cocktail list, and he knows a lot about cocktails and is continuing to grow. I mean, we're learning, like we've really started to dive into tequilas and mezcals and things like that. So we are trying as much as we can to learn about those things, and they're all super cool. It's
Yeah.
cool to learn about all that stuff. So there's history behind it, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely agree. I mean, I've actually been, because in college, I remember like anyone hands me any tequila, I'm like, please go away from me. And then
Yeah.
now I'm like, now hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let's come back to this. And I was reading an article, and it's probably very anecdotal, but it's like, if you're going to drink an alcohol or like some sort of liquor, this is the liquor you should be drinking.
Yeah.
It was tequila. I was like, well, if I needed some sort of motivation, here we go.
Here we go. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, outside of, continue to refine beers, continue to refine cocktails, dabble into wine. I mean, anything else in the near, long-term future we can expect and changes at TF?
Higher quality.
Perfect. Continue to do better. I love that.
Yeah,
better.
I mean, it can never be good enough. Can never be good enough.
Journey down a destination.
Yeah, well, it will never be good enough. I mean, no matter if you do it for another 50 years, it still won't be good enough. Because you can't just say it's good, and like I said earlier, and that's it. You always got to try to perfect it more and more and more and more. So
Cool.
it's a never-ending battle.
And I'm sure it's like picking a favorite child, but is there a beer that you have favorite, whether it's the one you prefer to drink or the one that you're the most proud of the batch?
Yeah, probably Keller beer or our Helles is probably my favorite two beers that we make.
What about you, Britt?
Mine is our Helles.
Noted.
Yeah.
I
I
think-
mean, and although I just fell in love with the Golfer's Delight. That's a
Mm.
really nice beer.
Yeah, it's like an adjunct American lager beer. Super effervescent, highly carbonated. It's made with rice and corn, and you could drink a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a little porch pounder or fairway pounder, I
Right.
guess you
Yeah,
could say.
yeah, sure.
I'm a passionate golfer, so I will have to try it out on the course and see how it fares. But from what I hear, I think we got
Pretty good.
a good candidate for the
Yeah.
situation.
You got it. You, I don't. Are we out in can?
Yeah, we're out right now. We have more in fermentation now, so it'll be out in about 6.
We have it on
weeks.
draft right now.
Deal. I'll just put it in like a big old hydro flask.
Yeah.
You can get crawlers to go here, 32-ounce cans to go.
The can's really cute though. It's like the Masters, but it's you.
Actually, that's a great. Who does all of your guys' graphic design?
Joseph Tony
Okay.
does. He did our mural in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does a majority of them. And then we have, we have a couple others. Lexi does like our watercolors. Ethan, I think it's Barnowski. He does like he's doing our wine labels, and then he's also doing like our Fooder Circus series. So we have a few different, but Joseph does most of our labels.
Because as much as I hate to say I'm the person who is like, I walk into the liquor store, or I walk in wherever, I'm like,
Yeah,
this is kind of
That's
cute, or like, this
me.
is kind of cool. Like,
that's how I am.
Oh, it wasn't even 4 or 5 years ago. She's like, I want some wine. I just grab the coolest looking bottle and I'd be like, okay, this one looks cool.
that makes me feel a lot better about myself.
Oh,
Well, that happens with beer too all the time. I mean, you can sell the hypiest beer out there, and the liquid itself is okay, but the can sure is cool.
Yeah.
Right. So just another way of influencing people to purchase something just by the way it looks. Also,
Yeah, like that happened to me with, I can't remember where I got it the first time, but I get it every now and then I live like right by Handlebar,
okay.
like 7th North and 3rd West.
Yeah.
And the first time I got it was at a restaurant. I'm like, Ninja versus Unicorn.
Yeah.
What is this? And I see the can. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. And I have like, actually, it's a pretty good beer too.
Yeah.
Like everybody wins. Check,
Yeah.
check, check.
Yeah.
Polygamy Porter, when that came out from Squatter Wasatch, I mean, that was the most obvious. I mean, they probably sold more merch than they did beer.
Oh, yeah.
Because it had a great name, it had great graphics, and everyone was like, it's Utah and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Lean into it.
For sure.
I'll never forget because I grew up skiing at Snowbird, and we would always get pizza from Pier 49. It's not Pier 49 anymore, below the tram.
Yep.
And I remember I'd always eat pizza, and there'd be this polygamy porter sign, and I was like, I don't know what this means, but I'm very curious.
Right,
'Cause I
right.
had no idea what it was.
Yep.
And then now, obviously, be able to enjoy it is a whole nother story.
Sure.
But I imagine you guys are still ski enthusiasts. But what else around? I mean, Salt Lake, do you guys like to enjoy when you're not? It's
I feel like we're not ski enthusiasts as much if at all anymore.
Grinded up there for
We want to.
15, 18 years.
We like the flip flops and the.
He still works
shorts.
up. My brother still works up
He
there.
does. He is
Yeah.
the ski. He does enough for both of us.
34 years.
34 years. Yeah,
He
Yeah.
works at the police station.
it gets some turns for us.
Yeah.
Oh, he skis 6.5 days a week.
Not a
I
bad
ski
life.
6 times in a year.
It's kind of where I'm more of the 6 times a year than the
We're
6 times
busy.
a week.
I mean, we had it. It was really good. That's where we met each other. I mean,
Yeah.
there was when it would be dumping 30 inches and there's 20 cars in the parking lot. It's like
It's so different
no
now.
big deal. But
Oh,
now
sure.
it's like I got to reserve a spot and I got to wait in line and then I got to. And it's probably just more excuses. I'd just rather go golfing or something else than
Yeah.
go up there. We had it when we had it, and it was. I
It was
feel
the best.
I feel lucky that we had it when
Yeah.
we had it. So
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was with my friends. I was like, oh, like, hey, do you want to go golfing? I'm like, or we could go drive to St. George and go golf.
Yeah.
Or if we want to go skiing, I'm like, no,
Right.
we could drive to St. George and go golf. Like, that sounds better too.
I'm like, am I getting old? Is that what it means? Like, are we going to end up?
well,
in
you know,
Florida?
life just keeps moving on.
Yeah.
I mean, I love skiing. I love the mountains. It's where I met my wife. It's where I got married. It's where I raised my kids. My brother still lives there. My whole family skied there. But it's just not as easy as it used to be to just cruise up and make some turns and then, you know, grab a sando and head home. You got, like we just said, you have to be a week ahead of time.
So you need a plan. Like, I'm
You
like,
know,
we
park
need
the
to start
car.
going down at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so much planning, and which means then we need to wake up at like 5 o'clock to like get going up the canyon. And
Ugh.
there's just so much to it that maybe we're just lazy. I don't know.
I'm
It's
in
a lot.
that camp as well.
Okay.
Like, I'm like, I'll be Friday evening, whatever. Like, oh, should I go skiing? I'm like,
Yeah.
so I have to wake up what time? I have to get everything ready. I have to go do this. I have to go pick up so and so. I'm like, or we could sleep in.
Our marketing girl, she's skiing all the time. And I just listen to her and like dream about what she's doing because
Yeah. Just live vicariously
yeah,
through her.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, any other, places you guys like to frequent, any other breweries you guys like to visit around Salt Lake whenever you're not drinking your own beer?
I would like to go over to Fisher and have a beer. You know, we might go to Bewilder and have a beer. And I mean, it really depends, but I'm not going to lie to you. My favorite place to drink beer is my backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my favorite place. I go home, I get my slippers on, I got my dogs, I got my beer fridge out in the garage, and I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to worry about driving anywhere. I don't have to, you know what I mean? That's definitely my safe spot. You know what I mean? That's where I really like
Totally.
to
Yeah.
dig in.
No,
That's probably where I do my best sensory too. It's really when I can dig into a beer and say, "Oh, this is what's going on here, and maybe we should adjust it this way or that way." It's when you're comfortable and relaxed.
yeah, don't disagree. There's, like, whenever I sit on my patio and just, crack on a beer, even have a glass of wine. Like, I could go be around a bunch of people I don't know or don't like.
Right.
We'll do it here.
And we still want to support all your neighbors. You know, they're all good friends of ours. I mean, and they all know that they can come ask us for anything, anytime. And we had a local brewery just in here this morning borrowing some grain from us. So I like that. I like that part of it.
Yeah, Salt Lake is very collaborative in a lot of ways. I mean, that's across everything from tech
Yeah.
to art to.
I know. I
even,
love that. It's good.
What about you, Britt? Any favorite places you like to go to?
I like to go to Red Iguana and have a margarita.
There we go. Stack
We
the-
like
back to the tequila.
we like a good cocktail from Water Witch.
Ooh.
With
Yeah.
cocktails, yeah.
Yeah, they
And
got some.
I love to be here. I love to like chat with our regulars and like have a beer with my son. It's just our staff. We have great staff. It's just same thing.
Yeah.
Like I just like to visit with everyone and
I think if we're heading south, though, definitely our stop is Helper.
help her.
Mm.
Yep.
Jaron's a real big part of our family, and he opened up a brewery, and he's doing very well.
Doing
Cool.
great.
And he's making killer beers, which I knew he would.
And the food is great.
Food is just unbelievably
Yeah.
good.
I'll just
And it's like
try
a
it. I love that
perfect
place.
spot.
Yeah, it's a perfect spot. It's
Yeah.
really cool. Really
So-
cool. He's basically saved that town.
He has, for sure.
And then want to wrap up with the two questions I always ask everybody at the end is one, if you guys could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about, their story and what they've been up to, who would you want to hear from?
Corey. No.
Corey?
Gosh, I don't know.
I would say, I think Scott Gardner has a good story from Water Witch.
Yeah.
How about
I'm talking to him right now.
Mitt Romney? How
Okay,
about
good.
that?
That's one I'm working on. But yeah,
Mitt Romney, that would be a good one.
It would be a good one.
Interesting.
How about Isaac Winter or Brendan Coyle from High West Distillery?
Working on that one as well with their PR person. But yeah, Scott Gardner. I had a Viet Fam who, Pretty Bird, Forage, and then every single reality TV show and competitive food show. He's like, Scott, he's like, we started kind of at the same time, and it's fun to see kind of what we've been able to accomplish.
Love that.
So
cool. You're it sounds like you're nailing it.
But it's good to have people like, well, I do want to hear this. Like, good, I'm going down.
All right,
down
good.
the
That's next week. Yeah.
No, totally. And then secondly, if people want to find out more about, TF, the beers, or come visit, what's the best places to find more info?
Instagram is always a good spot. Gosh, what else? Our website is great.
Yeah, tfbrewing.com, our Instagram. And
Instagram. Just come in.
Come swing by.
Just come in.
yeah, just come say hi. I've been saying this for forever, but if you're here at the brewery and you're having drinks, just say, hey, is there a brewer around? I can see the brew house. We give tours of a drop of a hat every 7 days a week. We do it. And,
cool.
and it's a really interesting way to say, oh, why do you guys call it Southern German Half? Why do you guys call this German Pilsner? And I say, okay, well, let's go. We'll go over to the malt room and say, this is where all the raw ingredients come from. This is the brewing process. This is how we grind it. This is the brew house. This is we boil it. We add hops here. We cool it here. This is a fermenter. This is a lagering tank. And after that 12, 13-minute chit-chat hanging out while we're having a beer, they actually leave and they know a lot more about us, but they also know a lot more about the brewing process, which makes them more interested, I guess, to try more beers, to try different beers, to say, oh, they have a Belgian saison on. Well, I wonder what that means. Well, maybe they might know that the yeast is a big influence in that beer, and that they use Belgian candy sugar, and on and on. It just depends on what beer it is. But the more you can educate the employees and really reel them in to say, this is really where it all happens, and this is why we do this, and it's important. I think it gets them a little more hooked on the product.
Yeah. So come ask for a brewmaster. You'll probably end up, Kevin, on a big tangent. Third West, just north of what south are we on?
Ninth South.
Ninth South, Third West.
Yeah.
Great place to be.
Yeah, appreciate you coming by.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Thank you for chatting.
It's been fun playing this game of email ping pong with Kevin. I'm like, hey, can we do this? You're like, I'm out of here. I'm like, oh, can we do this? You're like, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
So I'm glad we could make it happen.
We're here.
We did it.
Yeah.
No, but thank you guys so much. Not only for beer, but a great combo. It's fun to get to know you guys better. I've heard great things. Actually, on beer naming, where does the name Ferda come from? Because I want to make sure not been lying to people.
Our first canned beer that we wanted to release, we actually canned it on the day that we opened. And before that, my son played AAA hockey for about 12 years. So he traveled all over the country constantly. He played juniors in Minnesota and all that stuff. And I'm like, what are we going to call this IPA? And he's like, oh, we'll call it Ferda,
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Ferda.
where it came from. Ferda. Yeah, Ferda family, Ferda boys.
Okay, because I heard, again, thank you guys so much for the time.
Appreciate
I will
it.
be back and drinking lots of beers very shortly.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Small Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.